But then you have Western Europe, which is in some ways even more troubling because Western Europe, Russia and China have never had histories of freedom, but Western Europe, of course, was the cradle of modern liberty, and they are basically allowing their country to be swept away under this, onrush of Islamic immigration. And you can say, it's not as bad as it looks over here. Now, that's one of the things I learned about traveling in the world. When you read about other countries in the paper, it looks like the sky is falling. But when you get over there, life is continuing as normal. It's just that, these troubles are haunting the place. But when I look at this Telford thing that is now coming out, another city in Britain where Muslims were allowed to groom, as they put it, hundreds and hundreds of young non-Muslim girls for sex slavery. I'm sorry to lead with this, but it really is important because I want to just show, as tyranny is coming back into play. In Russia. Now, remember, we had this little 10-year window after the Soviet Union fell where there was a chance for Russia to be free. That has fallen apart under Putin. China looked like it was liberalizing. Their economy was doing so well. Now that's disappearing under Xi, and I know that people keep telling me that the economy in China is going to take over the world. I'm not so sure because I'm not so sure you can run a tyrannical and capitalist economy. I'm not so sure it's not a paper tiger, a paper dragon underneath it all. But still, the economy is doing well right now. And it doesn't really, how can I put this? It doesn't really matter if your economy is doing well if you're not free. But here in England, the cradle of our freedom, just the place where modern freedom and the modern idea of freedom was born, they had this horrible thing where they let these girls get groomed for sex slavery, young girls up to, as young as 11. And didn't do anything about it because the police did not want to be seen, the authorities did not want to be seen as racist. They're so hamstrung by this idea that they could be racist that they let this happen. I just want you to listen to this. This is tough to listen to. It's about a minute plus long. This is a girl on the BBC telling what it was like when these clowns did this to her. It is worth hearing.
But it quickly moved on to being sold onto men every single day. So I'd be being sold maybe 2 or 3 times a night, taken into the only thing I can describe as a rape house, which was set up for the purpose of young girls being sold to men. The reason why I kept going back was they were threatening me with burning my house down, which was a real threat in Telford because that had actually happened previously, and they would say to me they would rape my mum and rape my sisters, and they knew all about my family. There was just no escape at all. I was gang raped just after I turned 16, and that was probably the worst thing that ever happened to me. Sorry.
You don't need to apologise. No way.
And after that, I tried to commit suicide. And people would say to me, was that a cry for help? And I would say no, I genuinely wanted to die because I thought that was the only way, the way out. I was in cars that were stopped and searched by the police with older men, and was never questioned why I was in there or who I was. My name was never asked. And I just think if they'd been more proactive at points like that, things could have changed earlier.
But they wouldn't move, they wouldn't act. In this, if a society's first obligation isn't to protect its young women, its young people, I don't know what it is. So you're talking about a kind of failure of nerve in the West as the rest of the world is falling under these authoritarian regimes. I just want to read one other survivor. This is not graphic, but she talks about the fact, she says, they made it clear that because I was non-Muslim and not a virgin, and because I didn't dress modestly, that they believed I deserved to be punished. They said I had to obey or be beaten. It's another sex slave, essentially. And she says, Islamophobic online hate and personal attacks occur every day, and in response, anti-fascist groups in the far left carry out their own violent attacks on groups they perceive to comprise white supremacists or Nazis. As someone who has experienced life inside a grooming gang, I can tell you with certainty that none of this is likely to make any difference to the behaviors of the groomers. Like terrorists, they firmly believe that the crimes they carry out are justified by their religious beliefs. If anything, rising anti-Muslim hate will probably make groomers stronger in their convictions and drive ordinary young Muslim men towards fundamentalism, grooming gangs, and terrorism. The camaraderie, protection, money, and kudos that these groups offer makes them a strong pull for anyone. Worryingly, several young men I have spoken to joke that being a gangster and going to jail are their life goals. You know what it is like that. It's that like that Yeats poem. The best lack all conviction, and the worst are filled with passionate intensity. So while you have these Muslims doing these horrible things, you have Muslim hate groups, people who hate Muslims. Fighting with leftists who hate everybody, and they're fighting it out, and that doesn't help anything. That's why you see a lot of women now. There's an article someone sent me yesterday. A lot of women escaping from Sweden to Hungary. Okay, think about that for a minute. They're escaping the rapes, the Muslim rapes in Sweden, to go to Hungary because Hungary won't allow. The Eastern Europe is not allowing the same level of Muslim immigration. But of course, in Hungary, too, there's rising anti-Semitism. So the same people who were saying no Islamists welcome are also saying we don't like Jews. I mean, it's kind of a complex. It's part of the same mindset.